Today we will talk about lockout and tagout. So lockout and tagout, how it's work, the definitions and the risk and the hazards and the control measures regarding lockout and tagout. We will discuss about that one. And I hope after this training you will be able to use the lockout tagout properly to avoid accident and incidents in your premises. Okay, so let's just start this training. And please do not forget to subscribe my channel and like my videos. Okay, so lockout tagout, the course, it is included lockout definitions, legal responsibilities, lockout procedure, frequent mistakes, removing a lock, code of practice, and zero tolerance. Now the definition of locking. Lockout means cutting all sources of energy and installing a personal lock and tag at the source to prevent the starting of this piece of machinery while it is being cleaned, maintained, adjusted, or repaired. Okay, so we can say that why we are locking out any machine, to make sure that while we are doing any work with that particular machine, we have to make sure that there should not be any sudden movements with the machine. So that's why we are doing the lockout. Okay, now the definition: zero energy state. The machine is incapable of spontaneous or unexpected action. There is no residual energy left in the machine. Zero energy state. What is the meaning of that? Zero energy state means while you are using the machine, you have to make sure that there is no any energy left in the machine, like any steam, any electricity, or anything else, any energy. So that should not be in the machine. Okay, that should not be left in the machine, because while you will work with that machine, that energy can harm you. Okay, now types of energy. What types of energy we can get from the machine? Electrical energy, because the machinery, they need the electricity to operate. Our transmission lines, transformers, and circuit breakers. After that, the second one is hydraulic energy, fluid under pressure, like the cylinder and lift trucks. And the pneumatic energy, air under pressure, pipes, tanks, and vessels. That we have the kinetic energy, kinetic equal to cause by motion. Examples: moving conveyor, flywheel, moving saw blade. Okay, these are come under the kinetic energy. After that, we have the potential energy. Potential means stored energy. Example: spring, battery, or elevated weight that can suddenly come down whenever you are working, maybe under the machine, or maybe you are working under the car and car is elevated and you are working under the car. So those type of things comes under the potential energy. After the definition of tagging. Tagging is the addition of a tag to the lock which indicates the date, time, and the name of the worker, as well as a warning not to start the machine. Okay. Once you do the lock, you have to tag out that one also. Okay. You have to put the tag. Why we need to put the tag? You have to make sure that anyone who is coming near that machine or try to operate that machine, they should be aware that that machine is under operator maintenance. Okay, and no one should operate that one. And while you are tagging out, the name, okay, of the person who's tagging out, okay, the date when you tag out, and the time also you need to mention on the tag. Now the important note: this never replace a lock. Okay, this should not replace a lock. Now the employer responsibility. What is the employer? Means company responsibility. What is their responsibility? As per 239, ensure that each machine has means of isolating the energy source that is lockable in a location that is familiar to all employees is properly identified. Health and Safety Law 239 to provide a safety lock and key. 3. Establish a written lockout procedure, adequately train employees. These are the responsibilities of employer. And ensure that no employees works on a machine until a competent person puts the machine in a zero energy state. And employees verifies zero energy state. That these are the responsibilities of employee. Locks out the machine using the safety lock and key provided. Adds a safety tag that contains a warning not to start the machine, the employee's name and signature, the date and time. So these are the responsibilities of employer and employees. Now, the employee responsibility. No employee shall work on a machine until he verifies that a competent person has put the machine in a zero energy state and locks out the machine using the safety lock and key. Okay. Now, the lockout policy. A policy or a statement that explains the company's directives concerning tagging and locking out, where, when, and why. Okay. This is the policy of lockout and tag out. Now, the when. Anytime when you should lock out, when you should use this lockout tag out procedure. So anytime you service or perform maintenance on any machinery or equipment, that includes. So whenever you are performing any maintenance on machinery or any equipment, you have to use this lockout tagout procedure. Okay, that will include constructing, maybe installing, maybe you are setting up your machine, maybe you are adjusting the machine or equipment, maybe you are inspecting. Okay, or maybe you are repairing your machine or equipment. Now, where you should locks and tags are applied to all primary and secondary energy sources. Where you should apply this lockout and tagout. Okay. So this lockout and tagout are applied to all primary and secondary energy sources like electrical, hydraulic, pneumatic, mechanical, kinetic, chemical, and thermal. Wherever these things are included, okay. So you have to use your lockout tagout procedure. Okay, that process you have to use it. Now, why you need to use this process? You have to make sure that you have to use this process to save workers from serious injuries or death, and it is the law also. Now, look at Paygout program. What is included? Written policy and procedures. It is included. Okay, hardware and devices, training and communication. These are the basic things you have to follow whenever you are using lockout tagout procedure. Okay, the process that you are using. Now, the lockout procedures. Procedure, a set of steps, okay, is used to lock out specific machines, a list and location of all energy sources that you have to mention, other equipment in the area that must be locked out, special hazards, circumstances related to that particular machines and equipment. Sequential steps can be in a checklist format, testing methods, and the stuff. So these are the things you have to include in the lockout tagout procedures. Okay, when you are making a procedure, you have to list and location of all energy sources. You have to list down all the equipment that require lockout tagout procedure. You have to write down the hazards and risk related to that particular machines and equipment. So these are the things you have to include in your procedure. Now, tag and lock procedure. How you will use this one? How you will use this lockout tagout procedure? First of all, you have to prepare for shutdown. Okay. After that, shut down the equipment. Once you shut down the equipment, isolate the equipment. You have to isolate the equipment from a separate to a separate area, or you want to close that area where you are performing like any maintenance or any other thing. Stand on the right hand side of the panel. Use your left hand to pull the breaker. Try lockout and tag devices that you have to use to make sure that you will lock the machine and tag the devices. Control stored energy. Whatever the stored energy is there in the machines or the equipment, that you have to remove also. Verify isolation of equipment. You have to verify the isolation of equipment, whether the equipment is properly isolated or not, that you have to verify. Okay, then preparing for shutdown. Once you're preparing the shutdown, do you know your machine? First of all, you should know your machines. If you don't know your machine, don't work on the machine. What kind of energy are we dealing with? What kind of energy is there stored inside the machine with the machine? Okay, more than one type, or how many types of energies are there? What are the hazards present and what are the control necessary? What are the hazards present with that machine and what type of controls you need to control that hazard? Okay, that you have to mention also. Second step, shut down the equipment. You have to shut down the equipment. Have you advised other workers before you're shutting down the equipment? Okay. Do you know the normal stopping procedures? Do you know how to stop the machine? Off switch, pedals, controls, other method does it require? Those are the things you should aware about. Third step, isolate the equipment. You have to isolate the equipment, cut off every source of energy. How you will isolate? You have to cut off the source of energy, valves, main disconnects, circuit breakers. Do not forget auxiliary power like electrical, secondary steam, hydraulic, and pneumatic. These are the energy source, you have to make in your you call lockout tagout process. Do not forget secondary sources of energy such as backup generators. Pulling the fuse is not locking out. You have to complete lockout. Okay. Do not just pull out the fuse and you are locking out your machine. Step number 4. Apply lockout and tag device attached to isolating device to prevent someone restoring the energy flow. So what you have to do, you have to lock, and after that, the fourth step is you have to lock, and after that, you have to tag out also. As I said earlier, you have to on the tag, you have to put the name, date, and the time of lockout, tag out. These are the information you have to mention in the tag. Now, the equipment. Scissors. Whenever more than one person has to work on lockout equipment, a multiple locking device, sometimes referred to as scissors, must be used to each worker can secure their own safety. Second, tags, extra protection and provide vital information, never to substitute for lockout. These are the information of tags. Now, blanks for typing. Covers for connectors and valves that we have to use, other equipment that we are using. Chains for valves handle. Scissor rasp. These are the equipment which we are using for lockout and tagout. And tags. Life is on the line. These are the tags. These are the covers that we are using. And chains. These are the chains that we are using for the lockout tagout. Anyone you can use whenever you are following the lockout tagout process. Then lockout box and boards. This is the lockout box and this is the board that can be used. Now, lock station. This is the lock station. You can maintain a lock station in your premises, so which will include all the locks, all the tags, chains, covers, and all these things which you require for lock and tagout process. Okay, so that you can start to use in your location. Step number 5, control stored energy. How you will control the stored energy? You have to restrain hazardous energy. Make sure parts have stopped turning, relieve trap pressure, whatever the pressure is there inside the machine, like any steam, any electrical source, or any other gas or any other thing that you have to release out. Install ground wires for charge dissipation. Block support elevated equipment. Block all secondary source of energy that you have to do. Step number 6. Verify isolation of equipment. Once you've done all these 5 steps, you have to verify. Do not take anything for granted. Double check your steps with checklist. So that is the best thing. You use the checklist to verify last 5 steps. Okay. Each and everything you have to verify and you have to tick. If anything is not comply with that one, you have to revisit that machine and you have to reapply that one. Test before you work. Do it yourself. Don't rely on someone else. Okay. Do not rely on someone else if you are doing that particular task. Okay. You have to go by yourself. You have to check physically them. Okay. And you have to make sure that all these things are applying over there. Now, removing a lock. Once you completed your maintenance work over the machine, on the machine or an equipment that you have to, after that you have to remove a lock. Before you are removing a lock, you have to make sure that no person shall remove the lock on a machine. Okay, no other person shall remove the machine from the lock from the machine except the person who installed it. Only the person who installed the lock, only that person should remove the lock. In an emergency where attempts are made to connect the person and this person is not available, a competent employee designated by the employer. If that particular person who installed the lock is not available on the site, then any alternative person who need to remove that lock, that should be competent and need to make sure that that competent person is hired by the or informed by the employer to remove the lock. Now, removing locks and tags. First of all, you have to notify affected employees before you are removing. You have to check and recheck all the 5 steps. You have to check them properly. After that, what if you can't lock out? If you can't lock out, what else you can do? First of all, code of practice to 240 procedures that are outlined for working in certain situations where regulation do not fit. Okay. Sorry, if you are working in certain procedure where you can't do the lockout and tagout, that is you can avoid. A code of practice must be written in great detail and posted at the work site. Okay. Okay. Why you can't apply this lockout tagout process, that you have to clearly mention also. Okay, and you have to give the clear description and the reason behind it. Now, frequent mistakes with the lockout tagout procedure. Why we do mistakes? Because of misplaced multiple lock device, cut or not closed, improperly closed multiple lock. It is no tag, no lock, or no tag and lock. People, they are not following it properly. Lock not closed or key left in the lock. People, they are not closing the lock or they are leaving the key on the lock. One lock for several workers. Okay, only one lock for several workers they are using. A cause of injury. Failure to completely stop equipment. They are not stopping the equipment properly and they are start to work. Failure to disconnect from all the power sources, not disconnecting all the power sources. Failure to dissipate residual energy. Accidental restarting of equipment restarting in the middle of the maintenance. Okay. Failure to clear work area before reactivation, not clearing of the area before reactivating the machine. Lack of training. People who's involved in this process, lockout tagout process, they are not competent. They are not trained properly. Lack of procedures. No proper procedures implemented. How to do it? What are the steps we have to follow during the lockout tagout process? So all these things are the major causes of injuries that we have to take care. Now, famous last words. These are the words people usually use to avoid the lockout tagout process. They will say that it will take longer to lock out than do the repair. I can do the repair within a minute. Why I need to spend so much time on lockout process? So that will take more time. It will only take a minute. For me, it will only take a minute to repair a machine. Why I will use more time for lockout tagout process. It's lunchtime, so no one is around, so they will not use it. The machine is stopped. It must be locked out. The assumption. It's okay to do it this way, right? They can do it this way. They don't understand the importance of lockout tagout process. Now, the zero tolerance. This is very, very important. Now, what does zero tolerance mean? Zero tolerance means any or all of the following: stop work orders. Okay, you should not allow any work. Restricting use of equipment. Any equipment should not be used. You can impose fines. You can impose imprisonment. That can be imprisonment from the legal authority. An additional assessment for violations of the lockout provision found in the OSH Act. Now, CSA standard Z46005, this CSA standard can help you develop an effective lockout program, www.csa.ca, that you can use to develop your lockout tagout program. Now, summary. We'll summarize what we have learned so far. First of all, tag and lockout definition, that we are aware about it. Okay. Legal responsibilities. What are the legal responsibilities of the employer and the employees? Lockout procedures, how we have to follow the lockout procedures, so how we have to make the lockout procedures, and the frequent mistakes the people they do, and removing a lock, how and who can remove a lock. Code of practice that we have to follow. Each and every country, they have the different kind of code of practice. Okay. This information and the training which I am providing you, it is a general information and training. Do not rely on particular on this one. Maybe you have some other legal responsibilities or legal requirement. Okay. So those we have to follow also. After that, we discuss about zero tolerance. Okay. So that's all from my side. I hope you like this information. Okay. This training. Please do not forget to subscribe my channel and like my videos, and please do share with your friends and colleagues. Okay. And thank you so much for your support. Okay. See you in the next video. Thank you so much.